Hello, everyone, and you're welcome to a very special Sunday episode of the Man United Agenda. We've been with you all week, and we're going to continue with this breaking news. You're all very welcome here into the Man United Agenda Sunday living room. We are absolutely astounded by the level of news that's coming through, and I'm joined by the learned Mr. B and our resident commentator, Mr. TalkMU. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Oh, good. Excited. I believe you've got a present for us, Rebel. What is it?
Well, having come off the back of a back-to-back win situation, who would have thought that after the way we started the season? It looks like we're going to be getting a bit more Samba-tastic, or maybe a little Brazilian.
Brazilian.
Let's just pop this right up on the screen. Fabrizio Romano is telling us that full agreement has been reached between Manchester United and Ajax for the €100 million transfer of Mr. Antony Santos. Here we go. Mr. B, looking at the transfers to date, obviously we've signed Martinez, we've signed Casemiro, we've signed Malacia, and we've signed Ericsson. We know that three of them are definitely at the behest of Ten Hag, and they've seemed to be settling very nicely for us and enhancing the positions that they came into. So you would think that the message here is what Ten Hag wants, Ten Hag should get, because he's been making good, solid choices. Is this a case that, even though we're paying a bit extra, that Ten Hag wants him, so deliver?
Yeah. We always said first season you have to back your manager. They might not back him next season, they might not back him this season afterwards, but at the moment he's been backed as much. All right, De Jong, I still don't necessarily blame the club for the De Jong deal not going through. I just don't think he wanted to leave. But Antony, he waited his time. He waited as long as he could, and if he waits any longer and didn't maybe do the Romano interview, maybe the deal wouldn't have been pushed through. So, yeah, I'm very glad at what's been done. All right, maybe not how it's been done. The price is a lot, but then what do we do? Do we moan about the club not giving us any money? And then when they do, we're saying we're paying too much for the players?
That is the €100 million question, really, isn't it? Pardon the pun. But I'm going to actually read you another comment with regards to this matter and just get your views on this. The Ajax manager, Schroeder, has commented on the Antony deal. Everything seems to be about money. I think this is sad. But this is our world. It is very sad, and I don't approve of these things. This is coming off the back of reports that it's believed that the non-footballing side of the Ajax hierarchy took matters out of the footballing side's hands and accepted the deal. And according to those comments, he doesn't seem too pleased that he's losing one of his star assets.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can understand where he's coming from there with that comment about it. So it all seems to be about the money. But, I mean, look, when you get offered that kind of money for a player who, to be honest, a lot of people are questioning that kind of value. And I agree with what Mr. B said when you asked him that question just before you asked me. But, again, in terms of, from our point of view, he's worth the money because, Ten Hag is confident that he is going to, bring what we need into the team in terms of performance levels. We all know his game, how skillful he is, how aggressive he is with the ball, etc. So I think from our point of view, he's worth it to us as we stand right now as a club, because that's exactly what we need. And as Mr. B pointed out earlier before we went live, that it does create the competition as well, also for the right hand side. And but yeah, I know Ajax are clearly not happy about it, the manager. But again, when it gets taken out, I think also the fact that the way Antony has gone about this, again, we did question this the other night, the professionalism and all the rest of it, and that is a different conversation. But I think it was I think, to be fair, they'd been put in an impossible position. And, you know, when the money men take over and just sort of say, well, this has to be done, you know, there's not really much that anybody can do about it. And that's just the way it goes.
Absolutely, Talk. And speaking of the competition for places, Mr. B, obviously Antony then in our ranks would mean that we'd have Rashford, Sancho, Elanga, Martial, now Antony, and Garnacho all kind of present on the books in the first team squad. Do you think this could mean that there would be a loan move for maybe one of our younger, less experienced talents to give them a chance to develop, or because of yesterday's performance, Rashford is coming in for some criticism again? Could it be that Rashford's time at Manchester United could be drawn to a close, or is it too soon to be making those sort of judgment calls?
I think it's probably too soon, to be honest. Rashford, obviously, we know who the main ones are, the main protagonists in those positions. But with Antony coming in and the money that's being spent on him, he's gonna start, or he's gonna be very, very close to. Maybe it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, but I think he's gonna be pushing for a start. Me personally, I do believe Sancho plays better for us on the left, which puts Rashford position in place. Now, if it puts his noise out of joint, then so be it. We already know that there was a few bad eggs. We don't necessarily know who they were, and I'm not saying it's Rashford for 1 minute, but Rangnick made a point of needing 10 players. If it's 10 players that Ten Hag needs to remove and replace, then it's 10 players that I think he needs to, with his choice of players. Malasia's come in, no problem. Martinez has a dodgy 2 games. He's had 2 man of the matches since. Eriksen, we know Eriksen's capability, and Casemiro is class beyond belief. So you have to trust the manager's judgment in this. And if he said he wanted him and they've paid 100 million for him, it's not an issue.
Absolutely, Mr. B. Now, you did mention that Rangnick quoted 10 players were required to bring Manchester United's squad to the level that was needed. To date, now, this would be signing number 5, so halfway there. And if, as it seems, it's likely that the Newcastle number 2 is taken on loan, that would be number 6. So we would only be 4 shy of reaching that 10 point. Do you foresee any further additions between now and obviously the deadline slamming shut on Thursday? And I'm going to throw this to you as well, Talk.
Do you know what? Actually, I can. Yeah, I can actually see it because, again, I know this is not a conversation about the ownership of the club and everything else. However, we did also talk about that because that doesn't come into the conversation when you're talking about where the money's coming from and how much is being spent. And if it is a case of what we've just discussed in terms of the Glazers making a player to make it look like, look, we care about this club. If you want it, you're going to have to prize it away from us. Then I can see more money being spent, most definitely. Whether it's on Frankie de Jong, I don't know if that deal is going to actually happen. I'm hoping it can happen. But there are other alternatives as well. There's the Osherman, the Gakpo as well. Now, whether Gakpo would still be an option considering the Antony deal, I don't know. But yeah, I can see more players being added. I can.
Actually, speaking of Gakpo, and I'm going to throw this part of it to Mr. B, on Sky Sports, they have mentioned that Gakpo arriving in tandem with Antony is seen as difficult but not impossible. Do you think that this is, obviously being a more wide-sided forward, is it a player that we have to actually need after having Antony secured?
I don't think we could ever have enough numbers. And we've got strength in depth. So, you know, injuries always happen. Form always drops off. And competition is good for players. It pushes you. So if the players are unhappy about who's coming in, tough. If it's in their position, they obviously hadn't been doing enough in training. If Rashford had been tearing up trees in training and Sancho had been tearing up, would they have gone out to be breaking their neck to buy these players? Probably not. So right now, there's a level that Ten Hag wants to get at, and I don't think he's at that level yet.
I think also as well on top of that, Mr. B, there's I think we have to look at this from the angle of Ten Hag, in the fact that, look, this is again, when we were talking about players possibly going out on loan, etc., Rashford and Alanga, for example, I don't see that happening, just because I think what Erik Ten Hag maybe wanting to do as well is instill that team. This is a team ethos at the club, a team spirit. We do need rotation. We're going to need rotation to keep everybody at their peak in order for us to carry out the perfect brand of football that Erik Ten Hag envisions for the club. And as of yet, we haven't seen that yet. We've seen glimpses of it. We've seen, there are massive improvements, even from those two exceptionally terrible results that we suffered in the first 3 games. We then see the turnaround in those last 2 games. Now, that's in a very short space of time with a limited squad. Now, again, when we add those more players into their numbers who can understand the ethos and the philosophy of the club and Ten Hag, and they buy into that, I think we're onto a winner. We're onto an absolute winner. We really are.
Very good points there. And I just want to say hello to everyone that's in the chat. I see Matthew Bassett, Anthony Herbert, the resident gooner, and JP87, who's absolutely bouncing around the seams with this news that Antony is going to add to our collection of Samba talent at Manchester United. But with every in, there's a story going around, of course, one Cristiano Ronaldo, and whether or not his career is coming full circle and that a return to Sporting Lisbon is likely. But also marked against that is rumours that he would be part of a deal for a player that you just mentioned, Usman from Napoli, and the fee being quoted is Ronaldo plus £110 million. Surely we do not have that amount of money to spend on a central striker if, as is the thought, that we want to bring in a right back for possibly departing Aaron Wan-Bissaka and another central midfielder.
That's a lot of dosh. That is a lot of dosh. There's no 2 ways about that. And again, when we weigh up, because as I can see it, they are still trying to push this Frankie de Jong deal, which is going to cost north of, what is it, 80 million when everything's put down on paper? 75 to 80 million.
80 for Barca plus then another 17 for Frankie, which would be repayable at the point that it would fall due from Barca to him.
Yeah, so that again is a lot of dosh. Now again, I think that the deal we're talking about there for Osimhen with Napoli, that's the same guy we're talking about when you say Osimhen, yeah. I don't know. To be honest, I've not seen enough of him to come to a conclusion as to whether he would be, suitable for that kind of money. And also with the fact that Ronaldo going the opposite way, I don't know. What do you think about that, Mr. B? It doesn't. I don't know. I don't feel easy about that, if I'm honest.
No, I think if we spend any more money, it's going to be, a 30 million maybe. I just can't see. I can't see how they're going to be dealing in those kind of numbers, especially with the timescale that we've got left. I'm not saying it won't happen, because this has been silly season for Manchester United in this transfer window. But I just cannot see, if they buy him, they don't buy any toilet paper for the club. They don't buy no napkins, no paper plates, no paper cups. That has to come from somewhere else. So yeah. I don't believe that it's going to be another forward. And if it is, I'm more looking at it being more a Gakpo type price player. And I think the Gakpo deal is just there, ready to go. If Ronaldo decides that he wants to go, I think they'll get Gakpo in. I mean, they do talk about him being able to play centre forward. All right, he would still be learning the position to a certain extent, and he does come in off the left. But we do need numbers. So
can I just ask you a question, Mr. B? I don't know if you watched the match yesterday, but when Ronaldo came on, there was a couple of efforts, or should I say chances, that were created where it was quite evident he didn't have the legs against the speedy defender. He was trying to get back, but his legs, you know what it's like as you get a bit older and you run it. It's like your muscles don't stretch enough in order for you to get that stride. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it looked like to me. As he was going further and further towards the ball, he was getting slower and slower. And in the end, he just run out, and that was it. He couldn't get there. Now, for me, I just think Erik Ten Hag may be considering here that all right, the right back position also needs looking at. So with the fact that we've got Antony now on for the right hand side, Sancho can play the left, Alanga can play the left, Garnacho can play the left. Maybe he's looking at between a Martial and Rashford to be the two rotatable forwards.
Forwards.
Do you know what I mean? Or because also we know Martial can also play left. Rashford, I know he's not been so effective on the right, but again, when we get into the crux of Erik ten Hag's football, when it all starts to gel properly, and they get into that kind of muscle memory of moving the ball quickly and doing things quickly, you know what I mean, making decisions quickly. Because if you watch the games, you see the positions that we're taking up. We do hold a good shape both out of possession and in possession, but it's just the how quick we make the decisions. You know, it seems to just be still slightly behind, like almost there's a delay between what's going on in their heads for them then translating that into their feet to getting the ball out. But again, I think that's just a matter of time before it all starts to click and become more and more speedy and like bam, 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 move, go, pass. You know what I mean? So I think that may be something that Ten Hag may look at here and just think, no, we strength-wise, the right back position and another midfielder is probably maybe more of a priority.
But I'm just going to come in there briefly because before we move on to right backs and midfielders, because there is a bit of information that I want to bring to you there shortly. With regards to Ronaldo himself, would a return to Sporting Lisbon be, number one, an acknowledgement by him that he's no longer at the top level of talent because he isn't playing for those top level Champions League clubs anymore, and also that his best days are behind him and that he's going to be playing easier league games with a view to being fresh to try and fend off Messi in his goal record for the Champions League before they both retire?
Rebel, does Ronaldo need money?
Nope.
As a player, right, he doesn't need money. I don't think Ronaldo's motivated by money. But my issue is if he wanted to leave, Bayern would have taken him if he wasn't on 500 grand a week. They talk about him taking a pay cut and a pay reduction, yes. But what is that figure? Obviously, those clubs would know what it was. If he says, all right, look, I'll take 200 grand. All of the teams in the Champions League would find the money to get Ronaldo on their books. So to a certain extent, yeah, I understand ego means that you want to be paid the most, but he doesn't need the money. So if he wants to go, and he really wants to go, take a pay reduction that affects people's thinking towards him, because he's not a bad player. And I'm sure there's teams out there who could take him into his team. I'm just not sure his style. I'm not sure his style would keep.
Oh,
Mr. B, you know what?
Speaking of that, because I want to throw this part to you. Mr. B mentioned that obviously Ronaldo doesn't need the money at this point. But again, just to throw the spanner amongst the works, obviously he'd be looking at Lionel Messi earning top euro at Paris Saint-Germain. Could it be that he would not accept the pay cut just on the principle of the fact that, well, Messi, who I'm trying to stave off, is on so much bucks, why should I be on less?
Yeah, but again, ego. Is the ego over playing time? I said he'll get the games. He can get the games. But I mean, look, Messi wanted him, and that's the last time we wanted him as well. That's why he got paid what he wanted. Now he's not wanted. Then maybe he has to try and bend and be a little bit more flexible.
Very true, very true. Now, I'm going to actually hit you with a slightly different topic because I think we are all of the opinion at this point, and I'm going to ask the chat as well, if Ronaldo goes, how important is it, even with the Antony signing being done, to get another forward player in? But according to reports, Manchester United, in addition to Antony and in addition to the likely loan move for Dubravik, the Newcastle number 2, want a right back and another central midfielder, and it is also possible, but not likely, that a forward position could be addressed, depending, of course, on the Ronaldo situation. But with obviously less than 4 days, or a little over 4 days, I should say, to go, would all these moves have to be pretty much in motion, do you think, at this point, Talk?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I would say that it would have to be targets that they have already earmarked. So, they will have to have already been sort of scouted certain players that they would say, look, we'll be interested in this player, we're interested in that player, etc. I think it'd be a little bit too late in the window, possibly, depending on where they're coming from, I would add, though, to sort of jump in at this stage, because as we know, clubs are then going to start rubbing their hands together going, oh, it's Man United, okay, they just paid 100 million for Antony, let's, So I think if there will be some players surely that they've already been sort of maybe talking to clubs about or making it known that they're interested in. But again, I would feel that with Martial and Rashford, I think Ten Hag in this window would think to himself, look, I don't think there's going to be a problem with us putting the ball in the net with what we've got there at the top. If we are keeping the ball moving in the ways that we need to keep it moving from the midfield, the defence seems to be a little bit more settled now. There's a question marks over certain players in our defence, whether they're going to be sort of suitable for the club as we go forward. So I just think that, the right back position and another midfielder, I think would enable the likes of even Marcus Rashford as a lone striker. I think with his pace to be able to get in behind, or just to for running on towards. I know there's question marks about his ability to sort of link up play and everything else, but I think the defense is the right back and the midfield positions are more of an important aspect as it stands, because we have got Martial and Rashford.
Absolutely, Talk. And I think as you're saying there's also a lot of assessment being done by Ten Hag in terms of his squad. Abe up here saying that a right back is most crucial, and Dalot cannot play in 4 competitions, and that is absolutely 100% correct. And as we all know, Wan-Bissaka is being linked with a return to Crystal Palace, and he hasn't really been seen in kind of getting any share of the workload, even with pre-season over Dallas. So it's likely that Ten Hag doesn't view him as a part of the jigsaw that can exchange seamlessly in the type of play that he wants from his wing back. So I think the likely move, it appears, is for the American from Barcelona. I'm blanking on his name now as it speaks. Talk, you couldn't hit me out on that front, could you?
Dest.
That's
Sergio
the
Dest.
one. That seems like the one that's most likely to be able to get done. But speaking of players, there's a player that is currently back and he's smiling. And I think it's the first time since he signed for Manchester United that I've seen him happy, content, and smiling. And that is one Antony Martial. And it is rumoured that he is prepared to start contract talks with Manchester United to stay at Manchester United. Now, Mr. B, I know you're a great fan of the talents of Martial, and if he's motivated and really striving to try for the team, he's obviously going to be a good asset to Manchester United. But do you think that, given the injuries that he's had at the start of this season, that we'd be better off trying to get him injury-free, playing consistently, before we muddy the waters with the talks of contracts?
Yeah, I do. He didn't want to be here last season for whatever reason. He's come back. As you said, you've seen him smiling, we've seen him smiling, and he looks like he's integral to what Ten Hag wants to be doing. I'm not going to put an excuse on the first 2 games, but that first game, we played the whole of pre-season with Martial in that position, didn't have him. So I think that threw us off. He was back. He played great against Liverpool that second half. But I think they need to wait. This is the problem with Man United. We always jump the gun with let him earn his contract. Let him earn his contract. I don't know what he has. What does he have left? 2 years?
I'm open to correction on that, but I'd imagine that's about the outside of what he's got remaining.
I mean, yeah, I'm with Bob here. Give him till the end of the season. Let him prove his worth. Let him prove that he's worth, because all that, if we give him the contract, it's already an increase. If he's going to increase the length of his contract and keep the same wages, fine. But nobody ever does that. So let him earn the pay rise before we give it to him. Because guess what? He could be injured for 6 months of this season. So no, I'd wait. I'd definitely wait. What about you, Talk?
I understand where you're coming from. I understand where Abel's coming from, but I think we have to look at this from an angle of players feeling settled and being settled. Now, we all know that there were rumours and talks about Cristiano Ronaldo upsetting the balance on the front line of Manchester United. And now the question is, if Ronaldo does leave, that could have the opposite effect that a lot of fans sort of think that Ronaldo leaving is going to leave us short and we're going to be, in the mud. When actually, I think it would be quite the opposite. I think it would be a real boost to Rashford and to Martial, that they then are the ones. It's down to us two now. We're the ones who've got to, we know that because they know they're going to be playing, rotated. They're going to be playing. So I think from that point of view of settling players in and getting them, tying them up, especially if we do lose Ronaldo, I don't think it's such a big deal. I mean, depending on the type of contract that we're talking about, however, I mean, if this is like $100,000 increase a week, do you know what I mean? Then it's like, whoa, hold on a minute, that is too much. But if it's the same contract he's on now, maybe the slight increase of a bonus increase or whatever, I don't see it being such a big deal, to be fair, because we don't know what else goes into those contracts, because there could be a break in there, there could be a some kind of agreement that after a season, 2 seasons or whatever, you want to move on, we can come to some agreement with the club, blah blah blah. Because as we know, when players are under contract, it's always better for us to be selling them rather than them going on a free. So that's the way I would see it.
Absolutely, Talk, absolutely. And as we are coming towards the back end of the show, I just want to say there's 34 wonderful people in the chat. Please do consider giving us a like, share, and subscribe. We do appreciate it all. I'm just going to take a few quick comments because we have been hitting a lot of them as we were going through. The man from down under, Mark Edmond, is saying Antony 80 million, Gordon 60 million, Fofana 80 million. So he's obviously drawing some comparatives and saying, look, is it really that much out of the way when you consider what some of the talent is going for to other teams? Kingsley China, first time I think I've seen you in the chat. You may have been around before, so apologies if I haven't noticed you before. What's the fate of our home boy? Okay, I'll skip that part. But not against Antony coming into the team, but I think we already have too much wingers already with the money that is involved with him. Ola Conley is saying, what a bonus for Ronaldo. Sorry, tuning in late. Obviously, you're climbing the walls from your 9-0 victory yesterday. The man from down under, Mark Edmond, saying Mr. B is back from the dead. And Emma Kay is saying, to be fair, contract talks do take 6 months or more. But let's just do a small bit of revision for those that are joining late. There are reports now in circulation amongst a lot of top-tier journalists that Antony is due to sign for Manchester United after a fee of 100 million euros has been agreed. Interviews with the Ajax management team do suggest that the Ajax manager is not happy about the way that the deal has been agreed. And when pressed in his press conference about Antony, he said, I do not want to speak about Antony. I want to speak about the game. So obviously, clearly against the wishes of management there, wouldn't you say, Mr. B?
Yep, totally against his wishes. He didn't want him to go. But as I said before, I don't care. I don't care. They know their part on the food chain. And I think he came in thinking that they were bigger fish than they were. Or they've got their money. Their annual turnover is 125 million. We've already given them that plus change, plus all of the other. They're sitting happy for the next couple of weeks. So I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. I just want him to I want him to come. I want him to pay the money. I want to see him in the shirt, and I want this all done by Thursday.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, I want to just add to that. I think also we do consider it as well that this could be a little bit of damage limitation as well from Ajax in terms of the damage the current stance from Antony is having on the rest of the squad, because it does affect the rest of the squad. And you've got a player there that is wanted by a massive club, offering massive money. He's refusing to play. That had gone now too far. The damage had been done, and By sticking to their guns and saying no, it could have had a more of effect on the team and the club by him refusing to down tools. It would have been bad press, bad publicity, bad atmosphere in the train. So I think for me, I think the correct decision has been made, if I'm honest, and I'm sure the manager, at some point will come round and say, actually, probably in the long run, it was the best move. But it's hard for him to say that now, obviously, because he's losing one of his best players. But going forward. Sorry, can't hear you, Reb.
Oh, my apologies. I had my mute button on. But as I say, I do agree entirely with what you're saying, and I am looking forward to seeing Antony strutting his stuff on the wings and causing absolute consternation to Premier League defences. But before we wrap up, I'm going to put you on the spot. Thursday, 11 p.m, transfer deadline day. What positions and who is realistic for Manchester United to get done? And we will review this on Thursday.
Get a Ten Hag right back. We need a right back. I'm not sure we'll cope with anything else, but as A-Bob said on it, there's no chance that he plays 50 games at a level higher than the level that we expect him to. He's going to need a rest. Even if he's the best one, which I hope he's not. I hope the person that we get is the one who puts Dallo on the bench, like the players that we brought in have put the previous players on the bench. I'm praying, man. I want a right back. I want a right back.
Any speculation on what right back you think is doable?
No, I'm not Ten Hag. I'm not going to do that because he's got his decisions right. Whoever he wants, as long as it's not exorbitant prices, I think that we should I think they should just trust him to let him go.
Talk predictions of who can be done before Thursday's klaxon sounds.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mr. B. The right back position is going to be a problem. It's a work in progress as we know at the moment with Dallo, but we do need to get some quality in there with him to also push him in his own progression, but also to rotate. In terms of possible replacements, I mean, crikey, I don't know, maybe Alphonso Davies or Bastoni.
Bloody hell, talk.
I would have thought Hakimi would have been easier to do than any of those names.
I know, but that's the kind of name I would be sort of looking at if you're going to really put some quality in there. But yeah, I mean, again, as well, also the midfield. Now we've got the Casemiro done and everything else. Maybe the Frankie de Jong deal is a certain percentage of a chance that it could still happen. But I would definitely be looking at those. Dumfries, yeah, there you go. Dumfries is another one. But I would be looking at those positions, if I'm honest, and hoping that we do get a couple, maybe two more over the line before this window slams.
Okay, and final question. Is there a chance that we could spend another 70 to 80 million pounds on one last big marquee signing?
No, Rebel. We're not going to sign Frankie de Jong, Rebel.
Mr. B, do you know what? I'm going to go against the grain on that one. I'm going to say I think there is.
No.
I think there is because it's all or nothing. We haven't done one yet at Manchester United. Hopefully they will do one when we're winning, right? But at the moment, it's all or nothing. I think.
Do what?
You know, the documentary. All or nothing.
Are you serious? No, I don't want nothing. No.
But anyway,
no,
all right, let's
no.
skip away from that. But it's all or nothing in terms of the Glazers trying to keep hold of the club, making it look like they understand the club, they know what's needed, and they are committed to making us more competitive. They have to go all or nothing. There's no point in going half abreast there. So for me, I think there is still money to be spent. Yeah, and again, hopefully it's not just going to be spent on whoever they can get their hands on, wild spending here, there, and everywhere. So I still think that there is still a little bit of legs in the Frankie de Jong deal, but if it's not him, I think they will give themselves enough time for a secondary target that they may well have already been looking at, i.e. Tielemans from Leicester. Is he still available?
Yeah, he is still available.
Yeah, I mean.
And on that note, we have been going here full belt for the last 35 minutes. We will obviously be keeping a watchful eye on transfer activity, and we will come back to you with any breaking news. But I want to know in the comments who you're most excited about from our signings to date this season and who you would love to see arrive at Old Trafford prior to the klaxon sounding on Thursday. And of course, we are in action against Leicester City on Thursday. So we will also be bringing live commentary and the watch along from that game. But stay tuned to the Man United agenda. But for tonight, or this morning, I want to thank Mr. B and Talk for joining us on this special bulletin update. We shall see you all again tomorrow.